I do not even have my license. So it was probably the biggest challenge I've ever had as an actress yet.
Hi, I'm Kristen Maldonado from Pop Culture Planet. There's a lot that goes on this season. Not only are we balancing really cool cars, but we have this insane mystery. So I just love to hear a little bit about how each of your characters has sort of evolved over the course of the season.
I have a habit of playing very unapologetically themselves, teenagers. I think just as a teenager, I moved around a lot and I did online school and I would go back and forth and stuff. And I think it sort of naturally just built this just like confidence, I guess. I learned very quickly to be comfortable, sort of like being alone and not speaking if I had nothing to say. And I think that Caitlin, like reading the script, I very quickly noticed that in Caitlin. I think that she's a very similar person. She's comfortable sort of being alone and she's comfortable in silence. She doesn't feel the need to fill it. And I think she's very confident and outspoken, but at the same time, sort of quiet and reserved. And it's an interesting balance that I think I had naturally as a teenager. So I sort of I brought that to her.
One of the main things Harris is probably dealing with is this concept of privilege and wealth, and how much of that has influenced his skills and ability within the car racing scene, um, and grappling with the notion of, daddy's money and the privilege that comes with that, because that doesn't get you the street cred that he so desperately needs. Winning does, being good does, being the best does. So I think he's just trying to see, find that link and find that overlap.
We really find Alicia kind of torn from pretty much the jump. She's so conflicted in her heart and in her head. And you really see her try and manage that conflict while also making all the people in her life happy and being forgiving and being sensitive to other people's uh, you know circumstances. But then she really does kind of blossom in this way of, rediscovering her independence and um, finding a lot of joy in herself. And I think, she's can sometimes feel like really quite misunderstood. And I think she realizes throughout the show, like, that she needs a relationship with herself, and trying to understand like where she's at. It makes everything a lot more clearer for her, hopefully in the future.
I also got to say, I just love how her and Kiara, like, they're ready to shut these guys down when they need to. They're like,
Oh,
I love
love
it.
so much.
Marcel's dad's not the best person in the whole wide world. But I think it informs Marcel's character and it kind of shows you who he is by seeing that he is not hopeless because of that. And that he still has this love for life outside of that home dynamic. But I think, that's ultimately what Marcel is taught by his father, is that like you can't let anything dim your shine, He's just gonna be him, and nobody's going to get in his way, not even his blood related relatives.
I think with Curtis, his family, it's such a complicated dynamic. I mean, his father's police chief, his brother's essentially the head criminal in the town, basically. I mean, as far as owning a chop shop operation. So it leaves Curtis in this weird kind of limbo. He loves his father and he loves his brother, but he's constantly kind of pulled between, okay, this is wrong, I shouldn't do this, but also like this is necessary and I have to do this. And I really enjoyed being able to play that. That, and it adds another element as soon as he becomes friends with, Marcel, Caitlin, Zach, because he starts to realize that, okay, even though he does something, it's going to have ramifications outside of him, outside of his life, it affect the people that care about him. And seeing him kind of come to terms with that was one of my favorite moments of his in the show, just how he deals with it.
I feel like Ray's arc is a little bit more of a circle. Like, I feel like he starts off as this bad guy, and then as the show kind of goes, he realizes there might be, a way out of this life, and then inevitably at the end, toward the end of the series, when some things fall through, I think he falls right back into the old patterns, and he kind of becomes doubles down from where we got him in the beginning. So I feel like he's even worse where we leave him.
In the beginning, you think you're getting somebody that is just pretty a standard, single mom, nurse. She doesn't really have a lot of action or like fun stuff going on. She's just trapped in this like, constant cycle of nostalgia. And then at the end, a deeper, bigger secret is revealed. I think the hardest part was for me was waiting for that turn to come. Um, but I think that's what makes it more exciting.
You guys had such great chemistry as a family. So how did you build that?
I mean, I think that was one of the easiest parts of this whole shoot. There wasn't any like it wasn't difficult. Like when we all met, it was an immediate connection. I felt like we'd known each other forever. So it was kind of the easiest family I've been a part of.
Yeah, it was very true to life. The kids had a lot of love and respect for me, and they also ignored me a lot. So it was just like being a mom. No, just kidding.
Obviously, you guys have built such a great dynamic on set as friends. Like we loved seeing it on screen. But I know for you, Uriah, you and Melissa already actually had worked together on Freaky. So what was it like reuniting years later now for Motorheads?
I was in the callback process when I found out that I was going to be like chemistry reading with Uriah. That's what my next callback was going to be. And they told me the night before, so I had no idea. And I immediately texted him, and I was just hopeful that it was still his number because we shot Freaky like I think like 4 years before we reunited on Motorheads. And he responded, and we hadn't seen each other since like the Freaky screenings.
It's so funny because I hadn't seen her since Freaky, since we had a screening for it, and then COVID happened and world went dark. All of a sudden, I'm going in to help them test who's gonna book the role of Caitlin, and then Melissa walks in. I was like, "Oh my gosh, how have you been?" Big hugs and everything like that. And she read the character, and she was just perfect.
We also didn't work together a lot on Freaky. I think we had like maybe 3 days together. And yeah, I mean, I saw him at the chemistry read, and it was just an immediate reconnection, and we hit it off like so well, and it was a fun reunion. And he walked me out, and we talked about Freaky, and I got the call the next day that I booked it, so it went well.
She's so talented and she's so good at just immersing herself in a character. When she was in Freaky, like you love to hate her. Like she was this horrible witch that just you're rooting against her. And then in Motorheads, it's the complete opposite. You're just rooting for her with every fiber of your being. And she didn't have a ton of mechanic experience when she came in, and she just soaked it all up like a sponge. She's just a really talented actress, and we're really lucky to have her leading on set. She's a great lady.
What do you feel is the more complicated love triangle you've been a part of? Girl Meets World or Motorheads?
Motorheads. Motorheads for sure. I mean, because there's reasons for Curtis being with each woman, and there's reasons for Curtis not being with each woman. I have no idea who he's gonna end up with, by the way. I think that's part of the fun of it. Is it gonna be Caitlin? Is it gonna be Brooke? Like Kiara's entire storyline. It's this giant will they, won't they? And I think Johnny's done such a wonderful job of making you appreciate each character, but also not giving away who's gonna, how it's gonna end.
Were you really driving? Like, what kind of preparation did you have to do, to kind of get into that race car, energy?
Our stunt guys did most of the stunt driving, but in preparation, I went and I actually took a stunt driving course for 3 days in the desert, and because I wanted to know, it's hard to fake driving if you don't know how to drive, and it's harder to fake stunt driving if you don't know how to drive. So I really just kind of wanted to understand the mechanics of it all. But yeah, the driving for us ended right as you pulled up to the start line. You got to do that part, and then you just stop, change seats.
Unlike Drake, who took the time, I was sort of used to faking it in a way because I had just done a surf show, and I don't really know how to surf. So it's just the confidence of paddling out and popping up is similar to the confidence of jumping in a car, where he's sort of acting composed in a way. But yeah, you gain a familiarity, and you gain a comfortableness being behind the wheel of these machines that are so powerful and so cool?
I do not even have my license. So it was probably the biggest challenge I've ever had as an actress yet. Because I mean, like I said, I relate to a lot of Caitlin's spirit and personality, and that I read and immediately understood. But like my big blind spot was cars because I don't know anything about cars. So it was a lot of my learning and prep went into they gave me like a 2 week crash course with the mechanics, and I learned everything that I possibly could. And then they were on set, so I would just double check with them every day to make sure, like, does this look like I'm holding it right, and things like that. But yeah, the car aspect was sort of the biggest challenge.
That's hilarious to me that you don't have your license and you're working on all these cars. I love it. I love maybe season 2, you'll be like, I'll go get it.
Love to. I want Caitlin to be a racer if we go for a season 2, hopefully.
I hate saying that I do know stuff about cars because you never know enough. It's one of those things where it's like you're never gonna, no matter how much you dedicate yourself to it, no matter how much you learn, there's always gonna be someone who knows more than you. But I was really lucky to have prior experience with it. I worked in a motorcycle shop during the pandemic. It was my buddy's shop, and I tearing apart bikes, building stunt bikes. I was lucky to have experience there. But part of being a mechanic is just always being on the journey to being better. And I like that about it. I'm never gonna know everything. I don't have to.
When you were actually building your bike back up in the show, did you get to kind of have a hand in doing that?
Mine kept breaking down, and I actually fixed it on set because we were running out of time, and they were like, "Why isn't the bike running?" And I worked with carburetors a lot, so I was able to kind of pinpoint that we had a bad air mixture and fix that on the fly, and I was really proud of that. But yeah, we had an entire department of some of the best guys in Canada building our machines for us. And I mean, if you look at what they did with my bike, it's this CB 550 from 1980 whatever, and the gas tank is a fire extinguisher that's completely fabricated, and the whole thing's custom. You look at Dottie in the show. Dottie's this Mad Max, like roll caged out, up armored. What is Dottie? Is Dottie a Civic? Or I know she's got a V8 in her, but like they built such crazy stuff that it would have been way outside of our purview to build. I hope we get more of an opportunity to help them build it in season 2. I think that would be really cool if they let us in the garage and give us some access.
I'd love to hear about some of your favorite or even more challenging aspects of filming Motorheads. Did you have a favorite scene to bring to life?
There were so many fun scenes to do. Like some of the most fun days was when we were all able to like be together for me, because I didn't do as any of the sort of stunt driving things, but I love doing any of the scenes where we were, at Alicia's house party or down at doing the ATV stuff. It was really fun all being together and braving some of the elements. We got there when we first started filming. It was like dead winter, 6 inches of snow. It was like out of control.
You have like a fun Firefly festival. You have like, there's like a lot of fun things in the town that really like bring it to life. And one of the things that I was thinking of was just, a fan of Love Victor, and seeing the two of you and Michael in the Ferris wheel. I was like, oh, call back. A cute romantic moment.
That was so fun being on like the Ferris wheel. I was like, oh my gosh. And we just had a walkie-talkie in like on our laps, and they would just like give us direction through the walkie-talkie. And it was also raining like crazy, and the ground there was like full, just like mud everywhere. It was like actually a really insane couple days filming there. It was crazy, but so much fun.
For me, I think that's probably in the first episode when Marcel gets the keys to his first car. I was, jumping into this new world. It was the pilot block of shooting, and it was all new to me. And we had this like chance to film this scene at sundown. And I remember it was Ryan Phillippe that was like, just wait for the sun to go down. Like, we need this to happen at like golden hour. It's like super important to the scene. And we waited and we did the scene, and it was just like magic. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for the premiere, but I've been told by a lot of people that it's like such a great moment in the show, and I'm just like proud to be a part of it.
It's really tough to choose. I mean, we had so many amazing sets and amazing setups and stunts, and It's really tough to choose a favorite one, but it's probably going to be the prom episode. I can't say too much about it, but it was one of the coolest set decorations that I've ever seen. And I love the way that all the storylines interconnect like that. It's like, it's a junction for so many of those storylines just colliding. And it was a blast. It was just fun. I was homeschooled my whole life, so I never got to do prom or homecoming or any of that. So all my high school experience has been on set. So I kind of got to have my own little prom there.
There's some really good songs throughout the season. So I'm curious, what song do you feel either encapsulates your character's journey this season, or what's just a song you were listening to a lot to sort of get into like the Motorheads energy?
Nick had to remind me of it earlier, but it was Precious by Depeche Mode. Nick, what about you though?
Yeah, for the character of Marcel, I put How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. But for a song that like helped me get into like the Motorhead's energy, Hang On to Your Life by the Guess Who. That one just like really made me feel like I was in Ironwood for some reason.
I feel like for Curtis, like getting in, I listened to a lot of Civil War by Guns N' Roses on my way into set. I don't know. I just feel like that, like this is Axl Rose, man.
One of the theme songs that I used a lot for her from her playlist is White Mercedes by Charlie XCX.
They end up like later in the season putting Chris Stapleton in, which I'm a big fan of. So I enjoyed that.
Sam's like all about nostalgia and connecting to the past. So, I think my playlist for coming back to Ironwood, it's called Dusty Roads, and it has a lot of like the Eagles, and it has a lot of like One of These Nights. The Eagles is like just a classic that I go back to when I want to get into like a nostalgic frame of mind, even though I was not born when that song came out.
A song that really reminds me of Motorheads or that I would listen to a lot was Always Crashing in the Same Car by David Bowie. I felt like that was really kind of perfect for this story. I also listened to a lot of, for Alicia, I listened to a lot of Phoebe Bridgers. I felt like Scott Street, which is one of the saddest songs of all time. I really found a way to like connect to her through that song.
There's a song by Funkadelics that's not in the show that I would listen to on the way to work every day called Maggot Brain, which is just like a guitar riff for 9 minutes. So I would just listen to that and cruise because I would self-drive to set and I'd just be cruising on these back roads, just kind of like dropping into character. And yeah, that was my in.
Johnny did an amazing job of the accompanying music. Really nostalgic, just really, really great song choices.
One of the more hidden aspects of the show is just how amazing the score is and the music is. Like, you have these amazing cars and these stories and these characters, but the Zach Bryan, the Luke Combs, Olivia Rodrigo, the Benson Boone, like it's just non-stop. And it not only helps you tie into the youthfulness of the story, but also the nostalgia of the town. So it's like relevant, but also classic. So there's something for everyone in here.
If you could drive any like iconic pop culture car, what would you be like? That's the one I'm getting behind.
Like Cars Drive, probably like Ryan Gosling's car and Drive. I feel like, I don't know, I do think that is like, I don't know much about cars, but I think culturally that one really did do something for my brain. Yeah.
Going with a Jetsons car. I want to fly.
Yeah.
You want to fly, dude?
I want to fly.
1949 Dodge Power Wagon with a maybe a 6x conversion, with a big old V8. All the cars now are going away from V8s. I'm really upset about it.
I love a convertible. I want to be in a convertible. I want to be in like a sexy 2000s kind of, I don't know what it's called. I love the blue Porsche that Harris, Josh's character, drives. That was a very sexy car.
I would love like a 78 fastback Mustang. That's like my dream car for the restoration project.
I think from cinema, something like Kip from Knight Rider would be so cool to get behind the wheel of, or even like Clooney's Batmobile was pretty hectic. But my favorite car, my dream car is a 1970s Porsche 911T in like a silver. Just like a two-door little cruise around the beaches, like just something like that would be really cool.
Nice. That just made me think of my dream pop culture car, which would be the DeLorean. Time travel. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. Congratulations on the show. I can't wait for people to see it and dive into the mystery. Consider subscribing if you like this video and get even more entertainment news at popcultureplanet.net. See ya!